Alright, so in this tutorial I wanted to show you guys how I make animations of the maps that I create in Premiere for all my travel videos. And I've had a lot of people ask me how I make them. And most people make them in After Effects, but I'm not too savvy with After Effects. So what I'm going to do is show you how to do it in Premiere. Okay, so I'll show you an example of what I've done. Recently we had Show Us Your Brews in Maui come out, and we had some map stuff in there. Here, I'll just show you what that looks like. So this map, it wasn't too difficult to make. It does have a little bit of animation. It has a line crossing through Lahaina. Let's see, I'll just play it. So I was basically correcting Lahaina to Kahana, and I had a little logo appear where the actual brewery is. This is for a brewery video, and so if you want to see it in slow motion.
Their website says it's in Lahaina.
So I had some elements moving around.
Their website says it's in Lahaina. It's technically in Kahana.
But that wasn't the main one I wanted to show today. The main one features a line that goes across the map.
Take Google's advice. We really wanted to see the coastline on the north side, and we kind of regretted it was a little bit nerve-wracking. One lane a lot of the time, so just take the highway.
So I basically showed our route. I showed what Google Maps was telling us to do on our journey in Maui.
Highway and around, back up the coast. Take Google's advice.
And I just saved that from Apple Maps, and then
We really wanted to see the coastline on the north
I showed what we actually did by showing the line going across the screen.
side, and we kind of regretted it was a little bit nerve-wracking. One lane a lot of the time,
So there's that one, and then the recent Canada trip, we did the same thing. I wanted to show their route because they canoed over 40 miles, so I thought it'd be cool to show their route in Canada across all the lakes and rivers. So I'll show you that map right now. So that was the whole trip that they went on. It goes into the trip video, and then each day I break down their journey for that particular day. So here's day one. And then day two looked like this. So yeah, most people make this in After Effects, but I've been making them in Premiere just because I'm not very seasoned in After Effects. So yeah, I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. So right now I'm making a video for our friends that went to Europe, and they traveled around. So I'm basically gonna make a general map animation from basically Texas to Europe. So it'll probably just be like a flight path going from Texas to Europe. And that's what I'll show you today, but eventually I'll make ones from each city they went to across Europe. So yeah, I'll just show you how to do that in basic terms from America to Europe. So the first step is opening maps, and I use this because I could go to full screen. So you could probably use Google Maps or some other kind of map program. Oh shit. This is the view that I'm going to use for this animation. So basically what I do is I had my cursor down here and then screenshot this map. And actually what I'm gonna do is, as the flight path will go from Texas all the way to Venice. And so actually what I'm gonna do, as I get gets closer to Europe, I'm going to zoom in and it'll be from the Atlantic to Venice, which I think is right here. So I'll use this screenshot for the second part of the map. All right, so you have these screenshots. And now I'm going to open them with Photoshop. And one thing, so I'm actually in Texas right now. And so there's this little beacon thing. And I'm actually gonna erase this. And to do that, you would go to the clone stamp tool. And then you wanna select the area right here. So you do Option and then click. Because you'll be hiding this with the texture that's right here, and luckily it's pretty flat and that'll be easy to hide. I could not figure out how to get the location off of this map program. Even if I turn off my internet, it's still there. Alright, so that's gone. And now one thing is, I don't really like how the map looks in my videos like this. So if you do Command U, it brings up the hue saturation, or you could go up here, adjustments, hue saturation, and I just kind of mess with the hue and it'll change all of the colors of the map, and I just prefer to have a unique look. So I feel like I did Hawaii. Some of those videos were kind of pink purple. And for this Euro trip video, I think I'm gonna go with like this, whatever color this is, mauve. So I've learned. All right, so we have our map. And now my goal is to make a flight, because these people are from Texas that were in the video. And what I did was my wife and I let them borrow our GoPro, and they took it on their trip, brought us back the footage, and now we're making a video for them. There's all kinds of tools you could use in Photoshop for this, and you can make a straight, perfect line and then kind of bow it to make it look like have a nice curve. But I prefer to use the paintbrush tool, because I want it to look kind of handmade and I don't want it to look too flawless. I'll probably just make a curve that's as perfect as possible. It'll give it a nice handmade look. I'm gonna do a new layer, and so this paintbrush tool will be riding on this new layer instead of on the map itself. So now I'm gonna try to do this little curve. Oh fuck. So we got pretty much exactly where we need to go, and I kind of like that it's not flawless. It has a little bit of curve right here. So yeah, I think I might just use this. All right, so this is the first map we're creating. And actually, before we save this, I've been doing this little effect. So I found this online, and I've been using it like on this Maui map. I used it out here in the ocean. So I might even just grab this from my Maui map, so I can move this over to what we were working on. Whoops. And basically what this is I dragged this file to PNG. I guess I don't think that matters actually. I drag it onto the map, and since it's blue and there's these white lines, if you click on this little button, you could go down to screen, or actually go to lighten, and it'll get rid of the blue and reveal what's underneath it. So since I've already made it, I'm going to just use what I already have, and then I'm going to since I want it to be only in the ocean, I'm going to erase it from where it's overlaying land. And I'll do that by clicking the polygonal lasso tool. And you want to feather it about 10 pixels in this case. And so I'm on this layer right now. This is just extra stuff. I don't know if you want to follow this or you could skip ahead. But I thought it was a cool little effect. So I'm gonna basically select all the land. And I kind of like to have it a little loose to where it's not perfect. And then you close it off by clicking on where you started. And I'm just gonna hit delete. So that deletes everything over the land. And I'm gonna do the same for Africa and then Europe. And I kind of like I said, I kind of like it when it's not perfect. And then deselect. And actually I want this, you could tell the waves are over the blue of the line, so I'm gonna drag this up. So this is the line that I drew. And please comment below if I missed anything explaining it. Blue line. All right, so this will be the first map. So now what you want to do is hide the blue line that you created or whatever line you made. And you want to save this image. So now you save this first map. So let's say 011 as a JPEG. Quality 12. And now make the blue line visible. We're going to save this as well as a JPEG. And it'll be 012. And before we pull this up in Premiere, I want to make the second part of this map animation. So this is the zoomed in portion that I want the animation to end on. So Command U brings up the hue, and we kind of had it around here. That's close enough. All right, and if we look at this, it looks like we're flying in almost past Paris at that angle into Venice. And I'm gonna do some more of these waves, and I'm just gonna pull these over here. And let's see, so we can fill in this area first with the waves. And I just copied this file, or this layer, and I'm going to, I'm gonna move it. And this will be the waves for the Mediterranean. And I'll have to cut out a lot of land areas. I'm gonna select both of these layers right here and merge them. And it brings it back to the normal overlay. So we're gonna go back to lighten. Now it's on one layer, so I could easily delete the land portions. So polygonal lasso tool, go over the land. What am I doing? Oh yeah, this way. So we're gonna delete what's over the land. Boom, delete it. Deselect it, and then there's some islands that we're gonna take care of as well. Delete, and then we got a little bit of Africa showing. And delete. And now we're gonna create that new layer for the line, the blue line. So go to the brush tool, and we're gonna come in from this general area to Venice. Ah, shoot. Okay, so that's great. because if you go to the move tool up here, since this is on a different layer, I kind of missed Venice, so I'm gonna move this a little bit. You could even use your arrow keys. Boom. So now we're gonna replicate the saving by saving this file without the blue line. Euro Trip America to -1 as a JPEG. And we'll save it with the blue line in the same folder. All right, so now we are going to import this into Premiere. So we have these 4 files that we made. And we're gonna start with this wide one. Now I already kind of marked where I want it in relation to the music that I'm using. So this shot will be the duration of this measure of music. And then it'll go into this shot, so zoomed in. So I start by putting it on the first line in the timeline. And now we're gonna put on the second line right here, we're gonna put the second shots that we made with the line on top of them. So the exact same duration. So if we hide this right here, it'll reveal that there's no line beneath it. And we'll do the same for this shot to the close-up. This should be the one with the line. So another thing I want to do right now is to prevent seeing any of this black on the sides or the directions up here. We're going to zoom in to all 4 of these. There's probably a quicker way to do all this, but this is just how I do it. So I'm going to go. So if I do 115 on the scale, you can see that we're already zoomed in enough to not show any of that. You can see a little bit of the scaling, but we're gonna actually zoom in a little more later on, so I think that's fine. So basically, click on here, make your scale 115, click here, below it, make this one 115, click on this one, 115, and this one 115. Now with this one, I'm actually kind of thinking that this is a little high up, so I'm actually going to change the position to where I can't see the directions, but it'll be a little higher up, so maybe like right there. So that's 557, so that I guess didn't do much, but and I want to change the one below it as well. So these need to be the exact same scale and position. And if you were to hide this one on video channel 2, you'll see that it's in the exact same position. All right, so now we are wanting to animate this. So we'll grab these 2 and you'll nest this. Like I have it as shift in, but you could right click and nest. Let's just say map sequence 1. And then this will be, you highlight these 2 guys, nest it, oops, should have named it, map sequence 2. So we'll click on map sequence 1. And we're going to select the top layer, which is called Eurotrip America 1-2. And what we're basically going to do is make a mask with the opacity feature. And so you'll want to click, it could be the circle or the square, I don't really know. Let's do the ellipse. So it creates this little mask and it only shows what's in this little circle. This oval, I should say. And you want the feather to be 0. That's the edging. And so if we put this, our sequence at the beginning of the timeline, we want this mask to be so far over that it doesn't even show any of the blue line. And you're going to want to toggle the animation for mask path. So now you have a keyframe for the mask path. And the next move is to go all the way to the end of the timeline. And you'll click on mask path again and you'll see the oval right here. And I'm basically going to move this right little placeholder all the way over to around here. And right now the line is actually cut in a weird shape at an angle, so I'm gonna higher this a little bit. And since I'm actually making 2 different animations that are related, I'm going to move this over to where the blue line ends in the timeline for the sequence as it's coming into France. So right around there. That way I could continue that in the second animation. And I'm gonna actually move this to make the line a little more square where it's cut off. It's like that. So if you bring it back and play it, it'll show that animation. It's basically revealing the mask as the timeline continues. So that's actually almost done, the first animation. So the second animation, we're basically going right past Paris, or maybe a little before Paris. So we'll click on this nested sequence. And do the same thing with the mask path. However, on this one, we're going to start the path around here. Because it will be a continuation of the first one. Dang it. Kind of. So I'm actually adding more points than I need to, but I think that's fine. Oh, and there's the feather. You can see that the feather has a little bit of a edging that kind of disappears, and I don't think it looks good for the line, so I'm gonna do 0. That way it's just chopped off. And this path will be a keyframe, so click on this animation toggle. And then I actually want this to stop a little before it ends. I want the animation to stop a little before the timeline ends. So maybe like right here. So I'll click on mask path again and add keyframe. And then if you click on mask path, you can move, shoot. I'm just gonna do this and see what happens. So I try to get it pretty close to the edge because it'll basically go from here where it started to reveal this. And if you go too far out here, the animation will actually be pretty quick. So anyway, so that's the pace that we're going for. And it gives your eye time to kind of see what's going on. There's a lot going on the map. You can tell that's Europe, and we're going into Venice. And maybe eventually I'll add text that says Venice. But for now, I think we'll just do the animation. And you can see the line gets a weird angle, so I might even try to fix that. It's because the path, I almost need a new key point that keeps it straight. Let's see what that does. Yeah, that's a little better. And I'm gonna add one more thing to this because we're arriving in Venice. We're going to add a track. And I saved this from Google Images, but it's just a marker and I colored it my own color. It's a PNG, so you could see what's behind it. And we're gonna make this pop up towards the end of the animation. So my goal with this is to pop up in Venice. So we're gonna go to the effect controls and move the position over to Venice. And actually, I kind of want it to be smaller, so maybe 80%. So now it just kind of pops up. Oops, let's play it. But since that looks weird, we're going to lightly animate that. So what I'm gonna do is do a couple keyframes. So if you wanna start at the beginning and move over 3 frames, so 1, 2, 3. This will be the ending position and scale of this little marker. And if I go 3 frames back to the beginning and you add a keyframe for scale and position. And we're gonna make the scale 0. So it's gonna pop up. But I kinda want the bottom of it to stay where Venice is. So basically where it starts to appear. Actually, let's make this like 10 or 20. Let's make it 20. So you can kind of see it. And I'll lower that with a keyframe down to Venice. So now it just kind of springs up. And let's play it back. So it's a really small animation. One more thing you could do if you wanted to is go to the keyframe where it's the biggest, go one more over, and do another keyframe for the position and scale. And we want it to land on 80%. So if you go back one frame, let's do 90%. And move it up a little to where it's still, the bottom is in Venice. And so this will kind of give it a bouncy effect. Let's check it out. I don't really like that. Maybe let's do it one more frame over. And then we could delete the middle frame that we had originally made. So now it's going from 90 over 2 frames to 80. So let's check it out. Yeah, that's better. So we're almost done. If we go back to the actual sequence that we're editing the video in, that's what we're looking at, but it's still missing something. And so there's a couple ways you could do this, but what I'm gonna do is highlight both of these nested sequences and nest it again. And let's call it map sequence, I don't know, 3. So now we have one nested sequence. And we're just gonna add a little bit of scaling just to give it some movement. So I did a keyframe on scale at the beginning and go all the way down. And now go to the very end and hit a keyframe on scale. And let's just try 120%. So yeah, I think that's a good pace of movement. And so the only thing is it kind of zooms in a little too low for this map. So what I should do is do keyframes on the position as well, on the beginning and the end, and then move up the position without showing the top address bar and all that. So now let's look at that. Okay, and then one more thing. I think it gives it nice bouncy animation when you select all 4 of these key points. All right, I selected the left ones and then I held shift and selected the right ones, and you can right click and go to temporal interpolation and go to auto bezier. And that basically starts it off very slow. It speeds up in the middle and then slowly ends it. And I think this will give it a nice look. So let's check it out. And there we go. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and comment if you have any questions, because I would love to make more tutorial videos, especially of the things that I've been doing in my travel videos. So yeah, that is all.